Welcome to the No Bull Political Arena with your hosts, Sophia Nelson, Bill O'Reilly, Brian Mistro, and TJ McCormick. It's real voices, raw politics, and no bullshit. Hi everybody, welcome to the No Bull Political Arena. This is Brian Mistro. I'm here with my buddy Bill O'Reilly tonight, and it's good to have you back on, Lauren Kuhn. Love to get your perspectives on things, and thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. We're gonna jump straight into some news because an icon has died, Bill, and my goodness, what a world he changed. So, of course, I'm talking about Ted Turner, for those that haven't heard the news. Ted Turner died today at the age of 87. And, wow, I think it was in 1980, Bill, that he started up CNN and completely transformed everything in the entire news industry. So I'm kind of curious what you think about that, what you've seen change over the years. I mean, you weren't just, I mean, you were still fairly young in 1982. So just kind of curious how you think how he had an impact on media and so many other things.
Yeah, I hate to say it's a terrible thing to say, and I don't mean this, but I was surprised to hear that he died because I thought he already had. Like, I hadn't heard about Ted Turner for a while, and in the 70s and the 80s, you couldn't not hear about Ted Turner. He was like the Donald Trump of his age. He was always mouthing off. He was kind of the irascible, libertarian, good old boy, and that was his thing. And a lot of people didn't really, care for that style. Some loved it, and then of course over time he kind of moved left, and I think Jane Fonda helped move him along. They were married for a time, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was a kid, they were still doing a couple of issues of newspapers a day, the morning and the night. I mean, I was very young then. I was born in '63, and but news was 6 p.m. and 6:30. 6 was the local, 6:30. You had a 5 o'clock in some big markets, but it was 6 and 6:30, and then you went on to the national, and that was it for the news. That's all you got. You got an 11 or 11:30 for local, but news was a commodity. It was a precious commodity. It wasn't everywhere, and everyone pretty much watched pretty much the same thing. It was CBS, NBC, or ABC, and you had your favorites. Tom Jarrell or Cronkite or whatever it was. CNN just changed all that, and as a news junkie as a kid, it lit me up. And when 24 Hours News started, I was 17, and I was always a secret news junkie, listening to news radio at night. Like friends were listening to music, and I was embarrassed that I would do that. But I mean, nothing too heavy. I was listening to Plane Crash at LaGuardia or whatever was going on, and I just had an interest in it. But when CNN came out, I didn't sleep for about 2 years. And then headline news came. It just changed the entire thing, and it created a whole market. And those early people, I'm just trying to think of those CNN faces that started out. I'm blanking on a couple names right now, but they were kind of classics, and it totally changed the industry. It developed. Fox News came about as a result of CNN, as did MSNBC, as did a lot of the different cable stations, and CNBC, and the business shows. It just changed everything, and I think to some extent it cheapened news because they needed to fill content every minute of every day, and so eventually it all turned to breaking news and hyperbole and that type of stuff. But that cycled out, which has moved into Lauren's role. And Lauren, it's so nice to meet you. I'm thrilled to have you being a member of the show. But the cable thing is now bleeding out into a whole other area now. And I think, Lauren, you probably know that better than I do.
Yeah, no, I grew up, I knew the 24/7 news thing, just because my parents, told me that. And growing up, my dad was always CNN all the time, Fox News sometimes. So I grew up watching that, and I grew up kind of like a news junkie as well. Yeah, it's really sad that he passed. I really think he definitely did something remarkable. I didn't realize it caused like a chain reaction of that's when Fox came and that's when MSNBC came. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people my age just don't have cable necessarily. I think like just younger adults, they don't want to pay for, it's expensive.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, we're so used to our parents, it's just like a given thing. But I was talking to somebody earlier about how YouTube, I just go on YouTube and I'll be doing whatever and I'll MSNBC, I feel like, is really good about having the 45-minute top segments of the day. I wish CNN would kind of do that a little bit more, but I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of reading. But CNN is, I've always appreciated. I like some of the people on there a lot. Ellie Honig, I think he's really, they just have some really, really good reporters and correspondents on there.
Fareed Kazaria is a good one. Yeah, they've got some good people.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question, Bill, then I'm going to push it over to a follow-up from Lauren. So, did Ted Turner kill paper print?
I don't. I guess he played a role in it, but newspapers, they're still going. I mean, some of them are going strong. The Times, and actually, the Times and and maybe the Wall Street Journal and the Post,
and the
New York Post. But I think it contributed to it. It moved everybody's eyes from the print page to the television. I mean, they were watching news. I mean, going back in the 50s, people were watching news at night. But it certainly contributed to it. It made news faster. And I remember watching. This is a little bit later. Like Fox came about a decade after CNN, maybe a little bit more. But I remember going to a news conference. I was working at a news conference about a child that was missing in Florida. It was kind of a sad case. And I watched I had done a lot of news conferences and I kind of knew the rhythm of them. And in this one, I forgot the year, they had runners that were running the tapes to the news vans. Like every 3 minutes, they grab the tape and run to the news van.
Really?
To beat the other cable station. They've been doing it ever since. And it was literally, they would have like a young kid who would get the tape and sprint out of the office building, wherever the hearing was, and go into a van, and they'd have it up a minute before the other guy. And so it does cheapen news. It makes it less thorough. It makes it less reflective. It makes it more entertainment than news. But at the same point, it's news, and I love having it. I love having it available. But it is shifting. Like Lauren said, I never thought podcasts would make it. I remember Ben Smith, who ended up starting BuzzFeed and a lot of other things, was a big early podcast person. He used to call and say, "Can you get your client on this podcast?" And I was like, "Why would we waste our time on that?" It was like radio was out, TV was in, and why would you listen to something that's stale, that's not live radio? It just didn't make any sense. And now, of course, I've become a huge podcast fan.
Yeah, so
the timeliness of it matters. Yeah, like just the fact that you would have to wait for the print. Yeah.
So
and also but you have phones, like we all have phones now and headsets and that type of stuff, which makes it easy to use the new technology.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that point, Bill. I wonder if, as I push this over to you, Lauren, I'm gonna give you a little bit of introspection from what I deal with. So I've got 2 kids. One's 25, about to be 26, and other's 22, and they don't watch any MSM at all. I mean, they don't watch any of it, and I'm not sure they really have much. They get all of their news from YouTube, which we're on right now, broadcasting live. They get it from TikTok and Twitch. And so I wonder now, Lauren, how you see that and whether or not you see the model that Ted Turner put together, whether or not his model is going extinct or somewhat extinct, kind of like the old, Walter Cronkites of the years and the basic news that they used to do before 1980. It's where does your generation get a lot of its news and your friends and so forth?
So I think a lot of it is the social media. It's interesting you say Twitch. That's I usually think of that as like a gaming platform. But like X, obviously, although most of my friends aren't really on X. But yeah, Instagram is becoming like big on news. TikTok is huge. And that came around 2020. And that really, I think, changed a lot of things. And this is a different conversation we can have at a different time. But like that time period, obviously, staying home. And I worry about, I don't know what the algorithms were based on. It was kind of like extreme stuff. Like, I feel like it was just it would like know what you wanted to see and it would program it. And so I really do think people kind of like got into an echo chamber with TikTok specifically. Facebook, I don't really know anybody that uses that. But I mean, if you notice, people say, oh, you can't watch, a lot of the right wing, like they say you can't watch fake news, whatever. But you notice they still take a lot of those clips. Like all of the stuff that you see, it's always, that's still part of the discourse. So I don't think his model is like out. I think it will always have a place because that's where a lot of these, Congress people go and they do interviews, and I think there will always be a place for it.
Yeah, I think the biggest change. I think the biggest change happened after cable, Brian. Was like cable was, before you do broadcasting, you push everything out into the air, and anybody that had a receiver of some sort could watch it. And that's basically the same for cable. You just had to pay for it. But what really changed the news was when the marketers could segment the audiences, and that's what's happened. Fox, MSNBC. I mean, just completely different types of viewers, and it's like you can just listen to your opinion all day long, 24 hours a day. And this is where we're stuck.
Yeah, it's scary.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I remember, 84, the Morning Again in America ad. It was a beautiful ad that Reagan did, Lauren. It was a very, flags up and marriages and happy images. Those ads were all national. Everybody saw the same ad. Like, it was election season, everyone saw the same ad. Now there may be, a single campaign may have 45 different ads going. One for you because you're female and you're under a certain age, or this or that, or Brian used to live in Texas, or he subscribes to this magazine. It's like everything is hand delivered so that you never have to go outside your comfort zone of thinking. All you have to do is nod your head and push the channel.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Back on, yeah.
Yeah, she brought up a good point. The algorithms, I didn't think about that, how that would drive you they'll find out really quickly what you like, what you're watching. And it's funny, I've seen that on social media. Yeah,
Lauren,
exactly.
Were you on TikTok before, like when it was Musical.ly? It was Musical.ly first, right? I think, because my daughter was using it. One of my daughters was using it. It was called Musical.ly, and then it became TikTok.
Oh, interesting.
It was first like Just Dance at first. And then, but boy, did that take over. I mean, that hurt a lot of people during COVID. It hurt my daughter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was scrolling. I mean, it was scary. So
yeah.
So,
glad that's done.
So for those that watch, and I'll share how I get most of my news, and this is kind of to back both of you up. So if it takes you 5 seconds of watching, as we're about to drop another slide here in a second, watching this to know I get my news predominantly off of X. And the reason I do that, a little less so now thanks to the newest owner, but the reason I do that is that the reporters that work for the CNNs and the the Fox News and the MSNBCs or whatever, I would see stuff pop here and drop there before I would see it on the network. And so exactly. You could actually sit there, and that's why I share so much stuff off of X. Plus, you get to see exactly how the reporters are sharing it versus how it gets produced or changed when it goes out to MSM. And so that's why I've become such a fan of using social media to get my information. But the other side of it is there's a truckload of stuff that's absolutely not true that floats on social media and fools a lot of people. So
it was interesting when it first started, when X first was going, and I was with Twitter, I guess I was a little bit late to it, but not too late. And you had a lot of like everyday people directly communicating with these top anchors. Like it hadn't gotten big enough where everybody could hide and figure out a way to go, do private things.
Right.
And you had I have friends saying, I'm talking to Peter Jennings. It wasn't Peter Jennings, but like I'm talking to Anderson Cooper right now, and he's shooting back. And sure enough, they were, and that didn't last long. But that was kind of a cool thing for about 5 minutes.
No, I've had a couple of those interactions. Like it's cool. I think that's what I use it for too, Brian. A lot of the people that I follow. I mean, Manu Raju is a good example. He's out there pushing out. He's timely with his tweets, and it's just matter of fact information. Yeah, he's great. Caitlin Collins is great on there too. Some of them, yeah, but it's very timely. That's you kind of know exactly what's going on if they tweet something out. So, yeah. You just have to be smart about sifting out the stuff.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the cable game is to outrage everybody. It's like I'm not really. I like CNN because of the international. It was always great international, and I kind of weaned myself on it in the '80s. But it's I'm not I'm on the right side of the aisle. Fox kind of annoys me a lot because it's the hyperbole in all the stations is a bit much. But it's like if they outrage you during the show, they win. They get their little kernel into you. And it's a cumulative effect.
But it's on a little bitty side note. Sophia Nelson, she would not even be a member of this if it wasn't for X. That's how I got to know her. It's how I got to know Denver Riggleman. That's how I got to know Amy McGrath, and I could just sit here and go down the list of, either politicians or previous politicians or folks like that, that because of social media, because of X, that I built a Lauren, you would not be on here if you had not been on X and I had not been on X, right? Bill, he and I caught up the old way.
Yeah. I mean, there used to be phone books. Now there's X.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting how things have changed. I think that the model of what we're doing right now is probably, I'm not going to say it's going to take over MSM completely. As Lauren said, I think there'll always be a place, but this is where it's all going, and it just makes sense.
It is. I watch a lot of YouTube programming now. I'm a Mets fan. It's lamentably right now, but so these type of shows are popping everywhere, and they're great. They're fun, and they're good to be able to contribute and listen to people that you don't normally have access to. You get kind of regular voices out there, but at the same time, what we're losing is the experts.
Yes.
Like the experts. Like my opinion. Like if we talked about healthcare later on, my opinion is not expert opinion, but I'll give you an opinion anyway. And people equate them. Like, oh, well, he said this, she said this. Well, she's a PhD in X, and I'm, just a guy walking down the street.
I think that matters. Like, I think that because the more I realize that people have like an agenda sometimes, I have a hard time trusting. Like, I want to know what regular people are thinking, that don't have necessarily a huge agenda to push. Not that everybody does, but I appreciate shows like this, like podcasts, like, I just want to hear from regular people. So,
well,
value to them too.
Yeah, I agree.
And one of the things that we are able to do here that doesn't happen as much in MSM is, we can have a lot of back and forth and banter. We can, we don't have to be so careful about what we say. We don't have to have an agenda that we're trying to push, right? I'm not saying that that's all of the shows out there, because there's definitely shows out there that they do just the opposite. But this is a little bit of a benefit, at least for what we're doing here. And I mean, having people like Lauren on and you, Bill, and stuff like that, I think it's what kind of makes this stuff successful and makes it fun. I'm gonna switch us real quick onto the Indiana Senate race. This will be the state Senate race that happened. The primary happened last night. So I'm going to read a little bit of this slide for just a moment, and we're going to chat about it. And my goodness, wow. So it's from David Axelrod. He says, when people ask why so many Republicans in office stick with the president, even when it means opposing their long-held positions and principles, Indiana's results provided the answer. It's survival. Trump is especially unpopular with 2/3 of the country and as an albatross any Republican in a swing state or district. True, 100% true. But he maintains the unwavering allegiance of his base, and the threat to use it cudgels against any apostates in primary elections. Yep. So there were, for those that don't know, there were 7, I think it was, Republicans in the state Senate in Indiana. And Donald Trump said, I want you to do a mid-decade gerrymander, redistricting. And they, out of principle, came out against it. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. And so Donald Trump swore that he would get even with them. The last I heard was that 5 of those senators were replaced in the primary by Trump-endorsed candidates. A 6th one lost it, even though he did not have a Trump-endorsed candidate running against him. And the 7th was winning it against the Trump
votes, right?
Yeah, like 3 votes. So, my God, Bill, it's he still controls the party. He still controls the party.
Go ahead if you want.
No, I was joking with Brian if he didn't want to put my tweet up there. I tweeted about this today and it got all this stuff, But yeah,
what was your tweet? Go ahead and share it.
Oh, you didn't.
I did, but go ahead and share kind of what your thoughts were.
I just I said unbelievable. This Trump-aligned super PACs dumped $13 million because it was $13 million.
Yeah,
and that's shocking to me because that's not even involving the Democrats yet. They still have to win their race against the Democrats. That's just a primary. These people. So I just said, Trump Alliance super PACs dumped over $13 million into Indiana GOP primaries to take out state senators who refused a mid-decade 9-0 Republican congressional map. They're purging their own for refusing to disenfranchise 38.5% of their Indiana voters. So then I said, at the same time, they're losing their minds over the Democrats doing 10-1 in Virginia, which is where I live, which I'm not happy about that at all. So, I mean, and then I just said the hypocrisy is
hypocrisy.
That's what drives me nuts, is with like this hypocrisy. Like, I have to defend this stuff regularly, because I am conservative and I defend that, and people, don't agree with that. They're nice about it, but I talk to people and they're like, how can you, how do you feel about this? And I do not like having to defend hypocrisy. And this is just blatant hypocrisy. If you're going to be really mad about them redistricting Virginia, which I am, I voted no on that. How are you going to try to do the same with Indiana 9-0? And then when they take a principled stance, you go after them and primary them. It makes no sense.
Exactly. I mean, Democrats are trying to do this in New York, and as Republicans oppose it. So we also need to oppose Republicans to do it in other states, because it's not right. You weren't supposed to gerrymander or redistrict mid-decade. It's very clear. It's wrong in Indiana. It's wrong in New York. It's wrong in Virginia. It's wrong in Texas. It's right is right, wrong is wrong on this one. And I'm thrilled to hear you say that, Lauren. We could become fast friends.
Yeah, no, I'm really big on stuff like that, where it's just like, it's the
Me
principle.
Too.
Like, I refuse to believe standards. Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, they don't play by the rules. I'm like, okay, well, we have to get back to some level of normalcy, and I'm just not willing.
It's like trying to play Monopoly without the rule card. You know what I mean? You got to.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump straight and straight to go. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Exactly. That's what's been going on for years here now. And it's like, no. There's some rules, and we agreed on them. You know what I mean? They work for a reason. But Brian, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I was supporting what you were saying. And yesterday, Bill, I went on our show and I let loose on Democrats because they're all unhappy about what Fetterman's doing, and I kept saying that's his damn job. That he's not his job to sit there and follow the party line or do what the Democratic bosses tell him to do. His job is to do what he thinks is best. And it's his job to either disagree, do what he thinks is best for his state, or what he thinks is right, and the voters can get rid of him, which they probably will in a primary next year. But I'm going to say
that's his choice. Yeah,
that's right. And I'm going to say the same thing. What happened last night? That was their job. The Republicans' job. They were doing what they thought was best for their district and best for their state, knowing that it was probably going to cost them their election. Realistically, after Donald Trump said that. But she's right. I mean, Lauren's right. It's hypocrisy. It is the depth of hypocrisy.
And do we really want these states getting that involved? I think that's kind of scary to think that we're putting that much money into a state senator race. It's like, what are we really talking about here? Like, that's an insane amount of money. In my lifetime, I've never seen that.
Well, in Indiana,
those are
New York
numbers,
that's crazy.
Oh, really?
Well, we had like in the early 90s, like city council seats that were $3 to $5 million for city council. I mean, just crazy. But you're right. I think the last state senate race averaged like $250 in Indiana, and they dropped $13.5 million. Right? It's going to move. It's going to move the ball.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And Trump has always been able to crack the whip on the right, and it's worked. And I drove me crazy in his first term because I really wasn't anywhere near along with him. And it's just what happened to the party. The rest of the party kind of collapsed and walked in line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I refuse to accept it.
Yeah,
good.
I'm with you. So I want to share something that's happened again and again and again and again. Just minutes before Donald Trump announces the weekly deal that he does, that they've somehow managed to look like they're coming to a compromise or a deal with Iran and the Iran war. Minutes, in this case, an hour beforehand, somebody bought $920 million of crude oil shorts at 3:40 a.m. in the morning. Okay. And then miraculously, Donald Trump says what he said. Of course, the oil prices, plunged like crazy, and within a few minutes, they made $100 million and backed out quietly. This is not the first or second or third or fourth time this has happened. Somebody knows. Somebody in that White House knows, Bill. It's connected. It is definitely connected to the Oval Office. The slide I just showed too, that Axios is sharing the story. They're saying it may be some people also in Wall Street that are getting this news beforehand and doing the insider trading. But I mean, who has access to the White House? $900 million liquid to be able to drop on a bet, drop it, and make what is it, $100 million, and then yank it back out and disappear. Who has the ability to do that?
If it takes the next 50 years, they got to chase whoever is doing this down. And in the good old days, they would have been hanged for this. I mean, it's like you're using American foreign policy and military to make money. Like, come on. I don't know who's behind it. I have no idea. I don't want to speculate, but this should be a multi-year process if need be to find out exactly who made these trades, and they need to go to jail.
They do, and I don't care how close they are to the president, or if it's the president or his kids himself. I mean,
it's dangerous to foreign policy. You can start, you have the enemy start watching the market to find out when announcements are going to be made. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they'll just sit there and watch for a big drop, and they're going to know something's coming in the next minutes or the hour. And the interesting thing was, so as soon as he said that, the person sold off or got their $100 million, the profit. Minutes before, Iran comes back out, and you find out from another story that they don't agree with what was happening with the oil, and suddenly they cleared out all their money just as oil went back through the roof. Again, somebody, somewhere connected to this White House. And I'm not saying it's Trump. I'm not saying it's his kids, but somebody is insider trading. And
all you need is a phone and a Signal app. You can send information anywhere.
Yeah. How can they not track this? I mean, I go back to who the hell in the White House has access to $900 million that they can risk on something like that and drop it within a few minutes, knows when the president's going to say it, knows when to sell it, knows when to buy it again. It is, you're right, Bill.
To put up almost $1 billion is like, I mean, to me, it wouldn't be as bad if somebody put up $100 million and they made 900. Like they put up 900 to make 100. That's a sure bet. When you're doing that, that's a sure bet.
What do you think, Lauren? Did that shock the hell out of you too?
No, yeah, I was trying to look and see, because this is like the fourth time this happened, and I think it's interesting. They got the one guy who was a military guy. I don't know if you guys saw this. It was like 2 weeks ago. They got the military guy who made like $400 million on the Maduro like information or whatever that was. And so I remember I saw that, like I watched it live, and there was like some Congress people that were saying this guy shouldn't be prosecuted. They were saying he was just a regular guy. If this is happening at Congress levels or admin levels, and these are like Congress people. I remember Anna Paulina Luna said this, and she was like, until we get everybody, we should not prosecute these people, this poor guy. And I was like, what a strange take to have.
Thing to say,
yeah. I thought it was so weird. I was like, so are you admitting? And she's constantly saying she's fighting corruption, whatever. But I just found that fascinating, because they basically are acknowledging this was really wrong, but until we get everybody, and I don't think that makes any sense, but they clearly know that this is happening. And there's also, I was reading into this, there's kind of a vacuum right now. There's a enforcement SEC person that was ousted by the administration, and there's a replacement, but he's not coming till May 7th or 9th. That's what I was just trying to find. So I don't know if that's at all related, but there's not really been a person who is, I guess, able to really investigate. I mean, there's people, but something about an enforcement person not being there right now at the SEC. Well, because I just think this didn't happen in the past. It's so blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. I mean, never, ever, not to this level. I mean, Republicans were pissed off about, Biden's son, selling paintings at whatever it's $100,000 a piece. My God, somebody's clearing $100 million in an hour. So it's
and you're right about it being one person. That's crazy. I don't know who has that cash.
Who has that kind of money? It's crazy. I know we're getting close to being out of time here. I want to share something, and we're not going to talk about it a whole lot tonight, but it's a little primer for what I'd like to talk about tomorrow. And Lauren, I'm sure hoping you can join us tomorrow for this. I know Bill's going to be gone, but I'm sharing a post here by one of my least favorite Democrats, Pramila Jayapal or whatever. I'm not even sure how to pronounce her name. I usually just skip over what she writes. But I'm going to read it to you, not because I agree with her or disagree, but I think it'll bring up a good discussion for our Thursday thoughts and a deep dive in our healthcare system. So she writes, no one should die because they can't afford a doctor. No one should go bankrupt because they got sick. No one should ration their insulin because the price is too high. This is the minimum standard of a decent society, and we aren't meeting it. Medicare for all is our path forward. So, again, I don't know that we got to really dive that. I think it'll be a great discussion tomorrow, especially with you, Lauren, because number one, what your generational view, and number two, because you are a med student, and this type of stuff would affect you directly. But one of the questions that we're going to have to ask ourselves as a country, and this isn't a Democrat or Republican position, is how do we view healthcare? Do we view healthcare as something that you should earn, or is it something that the government should be responsible in providing? Is that part of the safety net that the government provides for its citizens? How far do you go with that? How much money do you want to spend on it? What would that do to healthcare? I don't have the answers, but I can tell you that what we have right now is a broken system. I went in for a kidney stone, it was a couple of years ago, and it was, I think, maybe a 30-minute process getting checked in. You have to go under. They remove the kidney stone. You come back out. After my insurance, I got a $20,000 bill in the mail. My friend who that I lost, that Bill, that I was taking care of, that was unfortunately became terminal due to his kidneys. Well, before that, he had lost one of his legs, part of his legs. They had to amputate it. And so he went in to get a replacement, a mechanical type of leg. The cost for that leg was $75,000. This is not sustainable. This is a broken system because very few people have that kind of money. And if the insurance companies are paying that kind of money, then that's why your rates are asinine. Okay. But I don't know what the solution is on that. I'll kind of throw it out to the audience and get your takes. But, Lauren, I'll give you something to think about tomorrow because I don't have a solution, but I'd love to know your thoughts on it. So
Lauren, we're expecting you to fix this by tomorrow night.
You're damn right.
No, I definitely have my strong opinions, and I can definitely come tomorrow and I'll prepare and make sure I have my things. But yeah, my basic overall thoughts are I've always kind of opposed the universal healthcare mentality, and I think I still stick to that. I think it's really great that we have the ER bill where you will get care if you go to the hospital. Yep. I think that's a good thing, and I think Reagan did that, passed that bill
that you had to get care.
Yeah, if you are experiencing an emergency, or really you can go there for an earache,
they have to patch you up.
Problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have to treat you. And I think so I just don't necessarily think it's something that we can afford. I think if we were to implement it on a large scale, it would cause massive tax increases, and not just, on the wealthy or whatever the Democrats kind of think is the answer for that. It would be middle class people would have to experience tax hikes. This would be huge. So I think it might sound attractive, but I think it's already a mess with insurance companies, and I'm not usually one to think that government will make things less messy in general.
Bill, I told you you'd like her.
Understand.
Bill, I told you you'd like her.
I do.
I hope I try to be so careful because I don't want to offend him. But that's
Lauren. One of my favorite sayings is, "None of us is as dumb as all of us." It's like the committee just doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, that'll be something to look forward to tomorrow, everybody. Let me go ahead and ask you, please, if you're watching this, please subscribe to our channel. You'll see this. You'll see so many other programmings that we do, and you can see it right there. If you're watching it right now, you're watching it on YouTube until we broadcast it everywhere. But please press like if you've got some answers to the difficulties we're facing with healthcare. Put it out there. What you think an answer might be. We'll read it on the air. We'll talk about it. But please like it. Please subscribe to our channel. And, thanks you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thanks again, Lauren. I'm looking forward to having you on tomorrow. It'll make for some interesting discussion. I think TJ will be joining us tomorrow. We'll see. But, thanks, everybody, for joining us this evening.
Nice to meet you, Bill.
Actually, nice to meet you, Lauren.
Right.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Y'all take care. Good night.
Bye.
The No Bull Political Arena is on all major social media platforms. Make sure to give us and your host a follow.
Hey everybody, this is Sophia Nelson. Follow me at I am Sophia Nelson on every one of my social media platforms.
I'm Bill O'Reilly, and you can reach me at Twitter at WFBOR.
Hey, this is TJ. Follow me on X or Twitter at TJ McCormack.
This is Brian Mistro, and you can follow me on X at Brian_Mistro or follow along on Facebook at Brian.Mistro.
A No Bull Media Group member.